ワンピースは実在する。
俺はモンキー D ルフィ、お前らを超えて海賊王になる男だ。
人の夢は終わらねえ。
Welcome
to Nerdville.
We'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Hey guys, I'm Turtles.
And I'm Fanfi. Oda just shocked us all with a massive earthquake. The reason behind Wano being submerged is finally revealed.
Right there! Coincidence? I think not!
As we finally make our way back to Egghead Island.
Today's cover page is all about Nami drawing her maps with a server cow bringing her a letter from Sanji asking her if she wants to see the stars outside with him, and she answers him in the most Nami way saying, "Thanks bud, I saw them earlier," as we see Sanji in the background creeping at her.
The chapter begins in the East Blue, in Fuchsia Village, where inhabitants are curious and worried about Garp's fate. The mayor reassures Makino and the others by reminding them that Garp is a legend and not to worry. Following this, a massive earthquake hits the entire world of One Piece, where East, South, West, and North Blue are all affected, as well as the Grand Line. The narrator intervenes by stating it is the largest earthquake in recorded history and that no one could determine its epicenter. The entire world, collectively in a panic, did not understand the significance of this event. As we cut back to Imu's perspective, a CP agent or Marines battleship is investigating the devastation caused in the Lelouch Kingdom at the behest of the world government. They inform us that there is no trace. It is a massive hole, like a circular waterfall in the middle of the sea. The narrator concludes by connecting the dots between the recent earthquake and the events of the Lelouch Kingdom, and explaining that the result of this incident was the global sea level rising by 1 meter. We see the consequence of this in Momoiro Island, where the revolutionaries are stationed, as well as Fuchsia Village and other islands in the One Piece world. Many of the island's shores were lost, as well as certain islands being submerged entirely.
We go back to Egghead, where the Marines are preparing their attack. The fleet is comprised of 100 ships of various classes, with 20 of them being great warships. As the Marines make their approach, a mecha monster attacks one of the ships. A beam of light is shot, taking the imposing beast down. The narrator says that there's a total of 30,000 Marines, spearheaded by 9 Vice Admirals and Admiral Kizaru. Sentomaru reminds him not to touch the weaponized sea beast, as Kizaru responds, "They started it." He asks Sentomaru if he could make it easy on him and surrender. Sentomaru threatens him, and Kizaru responds ironically, "Oh my, I'm absolutely terrified."
I'm shaking in my custom baby seal leather boots.
Sentomaru is surprised that he would kill Vegapunk due to their long-lasting relationship. Kizaru replies by explaining that he can't help him since he continues his research on the voice sentry, and that anyways he's only a cog in the machine. He adds on that this fight isn't in their best interest and assumes that the assassination attempt has failed. We go inside a certain warship where Saturn is staying. He asks for no one to know where he is and reads a headline from Morgan's and finds it satisfying. The Vice Admiral explains that he hasn't heard back from CP0 but can speculate based on Sentomaru's resistance.
He elaborates on all of the enemy forces that are up in the Labostratum, beginning with Dr. Vegapunk's forces, the 7 satellites, as well as the Seraphim deployed to protect him, Emperor Straw Hat's crew, as well as the world government's advanced guard, the 3 CP0 members. The other Cypher Pole agents have been captured by Sentomaru and his battalion of Mark III pacifistas. He concludes his report stating that the Frontier Dome is at 100%.
No one is getting out.
And that information has been cut off for a day or so. Saturn, concerned, asks him where the researchers and workers have gone to. The Vice Admiral responds they evacuated yesterday and their ships are being tracked. Jay Garcia responds by ordering him to sink the ship immediately. The Marine adds that Bonnie is also on the island, to which the member of the Gorosei says to leave her be. Interrupting this discussion, a sudden transmission is sent from Egghead to Marie-Joie, as the Marines let Kizaru know that he can listen in with his black transponder snail. Cut back to the Room of Authority, where the remaining members of the Gorosei are. The person at the other end of the line is York, demanding why she has been targeted for assassination as well.
She reminds us that she told the Gorosei about Stella's betrayal. The conversation goes back and forth, with the Gorosei not being sure if they can trust her. York answers that she has no interest in the Void Sentry, which they acknowledge. They ask about Cypher Pole and the Straw Hats. York retorts that she has the Seraphim under control, her survival is obvious, and asks what they're trying to wage war against her. One member interrupts and asks if she can replicate the Mother Flame. This pleases York, as she has already sent them a prototype. Before she agrees, she has some final demands. Starting with the safety of of her laboratory and her becoming a celestial dragon. The Gorsey agrees to the terms and she exclaims, "You've got a deal." However, she reveals that she needs them to do something first. Save her from Monkey D. Luffy that is trying to kill her. As a perplexed Gorsey realizes that the Straw Hats have been listening the entire time and are in full control of Egghead Island.
If you made it this far into the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more One Piece content. Do it!
Now we will share our thought, theories, and speculations about this chapter.
I think that the part about the earthquakes happening all over, you know, the One Piece world is just so interesting, and everything about the sea level rising, right? It feels like this isn't the first time that this has happened, right?
I mean, based on what we saw in Wano, that makes a lot of sense.
Right? Yeah, like this has been happening for generations. Like from what we've seen in Wano. What chapter was it? Chapter 1055, I think. Yeah. Where Sukiyaki shows Robin the old civilization of Wano submerged and stuff, right?
But I still don't think it's generations. I think it's like it's an event, a specific event that makes the world react that way and creates a catastrophe. And it's like I don't even know how really the sea level rises. Like I don't know. That was the part I was a little bit confused about. Is like because if there's a giant hole in the sea, right? My theory would be that you would have less water because the water would fall into the crust of the earth through the hole.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what it's saying. It's saying that the hole, I believe in the chapter that the hole isn't filling out, right? It says, but it doesn't look like the hole will collapse on itself. So it's not filling. That's the thing. Well, the hole isn't filling itself. And maybe it goes back to God Valley, where God Valley was erased, right, from the world map. Maybe it's not like destroying an island, right? It's erasing like space itself. Like there's a vacuum there, and it's the same effect as if you put your fist into the water, right? The water will rise. There is no space that's being filled there, so the space has to be filled somewhere else. Thus the 1 meter approximately like increase of sea level all around the world.
And we know in One Piece with like, oh, it's not as simple as like our world's physics, right? They have different rules.
Yeah. And this technology, like what we've seen from Vegapunk, it's crazy, right? It's super advanced, like holograms and shit like that. Like it's not something that we can even comprehend on like a human level at all. So the rules of physics just don't apply. I mean, it could also be like the heat of the actual weapon. It looks like a giant laser beam, right? So it could be like, I know that in global warming, like nowadays, the reasons for this level rising is because of the thermal expansion of the sea, of it getting hotter, right? So maybe that's because of it, because the super weapon is like so powerful and so warm, and the sea level rises, right?
I don't think it would make sense because it's like it's heat related, but it's like I don't think a short burst of heat would do that. You need like a general warming of the sea, right? And at a big level. And this is so like in one impact. And also it's like I think we've seen this before. Like isn't it Enies Lobby?
Yeah, for sure, man.
If you think about it,
Lobby definitely makes you think of this like waterfall pit, man. And it feels like maybe this hasn't happened in 800 years, right? Since the Void Century. And Enies Lobby is one of those places that got erased from existence by who knows what power.
I'm thinking it's the ancient. It might be the location of where the ancient kingdom was.
That's possible.
And that could explain why Wano, the first, because we know that the first version of Wano, the one that's under the sea, was in the same time period as the ancient kingdom.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that would make sense that because the ancient kingdom was erased, the sea level rose and submerged Wano, right? And that's why you.
But I mean, it does seem like it's much more than a meter where Wano was submerged, from what I saw, anyways. From what I remember from the chapter.
It depends on what level of sea, at what sea level you were, because it's not like most. If I believe in on Earth, there's places where it's like mountains or at a closer sea level than like flat land. It's not, not everything is like perfectly on
That's true. That's true.
It's perfectly flat. So it depends on where you are. on your planet.
But
and
I
what-
mean, it could suggest that it's happened multiple times, not just NES Lobby, but NES Lobby is a good example of where it would have happened
also it could be the
in
type,
the past,
you know,
right?
for Wano, it could have been like they were kind of in a curve in a way. So in a
That's
bowl,
true. That's true
like
as well.
you know,
Yeah, in a
we've
bowl,
seen
yeah.
that before, like you know that
Mhm.
like that bowl shaped like environment where you're like we have it in our you know in our daily lives. You have cities around where you live that you know are like technically in the hole, and it's like if it rains a lot, like water would accumulate in that area more just because of the nature of how the land is.
In any case, what Wano became after it was submerged is a result of being wary of this super weapon, clearly, because they want to be as high up as possible, right? Even
And they
when
have
you
a wall.
approach it at sea level, yeah, a wall as well. You need to go up the waterfall to get there. So there's like a whole kilometer of height, you know, between where Wano actually is and where it was. So that's like prevention from this potential like catastrophe, right?
Fancy,
And yeah,
do you think that that's why they're telling them not to open Wano's borders yet? Is because
That's
they're
possible.
waiting for Luffy to break the cycle, maybe, and they open Wano's borders when they feel like the world is safe enough where something like that wouldn't happen again. Is that a possibility?
that's definitely a possibility. And I mean, even the world government are wary of these consequences, seeing as how where they're placed. They're placed on top of the red line. That's somewhere that's safe no matter how much what the water level increases, right? So it's not just in Wano.
Do you think that they calculated that if they had to erase every single island that way, they would still be above sea level?
Yeah, I think it's very very possible. I think it's very clear that they do not give a rat's ass about any person that's not on the red line. They just fired a super weapon that had world-ending consequences to kill one person. I mean, if that's not clear, like...
I want to talk about a little bit of the Marines.
Yeah.
Oda's really saying, like, finally showing us the strength of the Marines, in my opinion. Because so far they've been, you know, kind of put off to the side for the pirates. And it's just like you're seeing that huge fleet. You're starting to see more and more commanders show up, like more vice admirals. I enjoyed that part of seeing different vice admirals, just to show
Yeah.
you the extent of like that world.
I think we've
It's
seen
not-
a few of them before, right? But it's nice to see like these faces again, or a new face that we haven't seen, right?
Exactly. I think it builds upon that world and also shows you that the Marines have an extensive army. And what I'm like impressed by Egghead in a way that they said that they are summoning a fleet that's bigger than what they would do for Buster Call.
Yeah, and on top of that, they've got to be careful because they don't want to damage anything too much. So yes, they need more forces than a Buster Call, because a normal Buster Call, they would just eradicate the place, right? Here they have to surround it and make sure that no one, Vegapunk doesn't escape, that they're able to like contain the situation, kill their priority targets, and take what they need, right? Man, like Luffy setting up, well, not Luffy, but the, you know, the Straw Hat crew in general, just setting up Egghead, just outplaying them like this. It's just so hilarious because it just goes to show that, again, the Gorosei, they just feel like some of them are quite incompetent. Like,
I don't think it's incompetence. I think it's overconfidence. Yeah, it's carelessness. It's overconfidence.
it is
I think they're
overconfident,
very
yeah.
competent. I think they're very smart. I just feel like maybe they haven't faced that type of opposition since Roger, really.
Yeah.
From
or Rock.
you could maybe speculate that Shanks, but as we know with Shanks, it's just a different story because he might have ties that allows him to do things that other pirates can't do. I would like that was a good twist. Honestly, I did
Yeah,
not
man,
see it
I wasn't
coming.
expecting it either. Like, it was built up to be the chapter, you know, that connects the dots between, you know, where we left off with Garp and Kobe and all that. And it was still, you know, information and more like reveals and stuff, but you weren't expecting to see the Straw Hats at the end in that way, right? I really hope that they don't connect the dots between when we left off with the Straw Hats and now, because I feel like just the reveal of Up, you know, we succeeded and we're in control now, is fine. We don't need more information than that. We can go on from here, right?
The other question I have after watching this, what is Lucci doing? He's kind of just, you know, standing in the back, hanging out. It's like, I'm just wondering, like, what is happening here?
And as well, like, York is captured, so the Seraphim shouldn't be a problem anymore. So why does he have to continue? It doesn't seem like it's his personality to just sit back and not attack Luffy because he wants to kill Luffy, right? So like, why is he just sitting back on this wall? Even if he's outnumbered, Uchi isn't someone that seemingly would care about that, right?
I mean, he's a smart person, and to be fair, like, if you are part of Cypherpole, you know, your default mode is gather intelligence, right?
That's true.
So
That's a good point.
why would he not listening into that?
And even in the call, the Gorosei, they kind of slip about Emu, right? Like, they don't necessarily slip really, but they're talking to Vegapunk, to York, and they say, like, indeed, this is a special request we're acting on. So what kind of special request would the Gorosei act on? From who? And even York is like, a request from whom? And then they're like, either way. It's like, it feels like they slipped there a bit. Like, I don't think Luffy
honestly,
picked up on it, right? But maybe Robin or someone like that. Like, you say something to give that little nudge to someone like Robin, who's super smart and knows the inner workings, or at least the last 800 years. She might realize something, right? Even Vegapunk might have just realized that from what they said. Even so, he says, so that's how it is. I don't know if he's talking about that, but it could be.
Well,
there is a real
he
one
could be
king,
talking about
right?
he could be talking about the mother flame and understanding what the mother flame could
definitely
be used for
as
well. So
that's true. No, I think that Luffy is low key. He doesn't understand that he's actually smart, right? He's like, he says that he doesn't really get it, but understood the situation perfectly. At least the important part, right? You can just use her as a human shield to get away, right? Like, you say that you don't get it, man, but you kind of got it.
I'm not so sure, actually. Isn't it possible that if she becomes a liability, because they did say they would make arrangements, so it's not like,
Yeah.
she's not technically a celestial dragon, so they don't have technically the urgency to go and save her. If she's in a pickle, they could just say, well, tough luck, I'm still gonna blow up the station with the straw hats in it. Or if they need resources in Egghead. They can't blow it up, man. It's too imagine losing all that technology. Even if you use her as a meat shield, right? They might just kill her to get to you. Like, they don't care, because then in that case, they did send Saturn. Saturn is the one they send, and that's key because Saturn is the godhead of science and defense, right? So like, but that's
maybe
his job.
he is sent. Yeah, to be able to preserve that knowledge, that whatever is left from their, onslaught on Egghead, right? He's the one that's going to prioritize what they need. So
exactly,
maybe he'll decide that they need a Vegapunk, right? Because they need that Sella of Vegapunk to be able to.
But what I'm thinking is, if I'm them, I would look at it like, if I could save her, great, because that's just because I already have now I have the resource in place and I can do what I want. But otherwise, if I have to kill her to stop Luffy.
Yeah, that's true. Luffy's a threat. Yeah.
I would still do it, especially now that we know that they know what its fruit is. Like, they understand the real threat.
And if One Piece is like this post-apocalyptic world, come from like a society of super scientists and whatever, then they're very comfortable regressing, right? They don't care about that. So
no, they've shown you that.
You're right.
For sure. 800 years ago was the proof that we needed.
Yeah, for sure. They're resetting, so they don't need.
I mean, I think for them, it's like, if they could just have a bunch of cavemen, and get all the resources they still need to survive, they would.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is the perfect moment to stop, I think. This is our review of chapter 1089 of One Piece. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment and share your thought on the chapter. See you next time.
Peace.